And we are recording. So this is the Life IQ Living Week 6. We started out, just a quick summary for those who are get some context to think about how to navigate the COVID-19 and that whole change that it brought in our life in order to have a really strong foundation and for hope and stability, as I was terming it. And as we were drawing to a close, I thought, might be nice to continue to give people an opportunity to continue on doing the things that were helping them for a few more weeks. So I thought I'd pick up and in this month, really talk about what I'm going to call building on the strong foundation for impact and influence. So the foundation, the goal for that was really helping you to have hope and stability in uncertain times. And then as we think about what do we want to do once our foundation is in a good place, is begin to have impact and influence in our culture, in our world, our families, our communities, the place that God has given us to have influence. So on to this next slide, just a real quick reminder. So a strong foundation included a healthy mind, what we put into our mind, what we allow to occupy our thoughts and self-talk. It's so crucial. And I can tell you right now, again, all the messages coming to us, all the things that we're hearing, where our minds go, what occupies them, how we evaluate and focus has such a huge impact on how we end up living the day-to-day life. Physical health, what we put into our body, food, drink, supplements, exercise, activity, again, have an impact on how we show up in the world, how we show up in life. And then the healthy spirit, spiritual, vibrant faith grounded in God's grace, living as relational with God, being a human being, emphasizing that word being, not human doing. And as we were wrapping up last week, the questions were, what is your vision for each area? So thinking about healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit, what's the vision you might have for each of those areas? And then do your habits actually support your vision? So the purpose of vision, of course, is where am I going anyway? So what am I trying to accomplish in each of these areas? And then adjusting our habits to support that vision. So just give each of you who are here a chance. How have you done this past week? And just if you want to answer either of these two questions, what's your vision and are your habits supporting it? But how are you doing with this healthy mind, body, spirit? Who would like to jump in? It's only 4 of you, so there's plenty of opportunity.
Well, Michael, I think it's a day-to-day challenge, just to be cognizant of it first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Be aware in your mind that you have these areas that need attention, and then to give that attention to each of those areas in as positive a way as you can do on that particular day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's that that sense of how much are you really focusing on trying to build these things into your life on a consistent basis. And we talked, I think there was a quote that I gave, one of the hardest things about the Christian life is it's so daily, and really life in general, and just being able to focus on what's important. So that when things start to move and shake and all that around you, you have something that's feeling like, I'm grounded, I'm grounded in my thinking, I'm grounded in my health, I'm grounded in my spiritual life. Who else?
It's important to do that when you're okay, so that the habits are there when things do move and shake.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Deb, Meg, Carol, how's it going for you all?
Yeah, for me, I've been trying to focus on pretty much every area, but one I think in particular just recently is healthy mind. Um, and for me, that's meaning more reading. I've, since, taking PCCI courses and different things, I've kind of set aside other readings. And um, but on the other hand, it's not that I don't have time. What I end up doing is the typical scroll through Facebook or the news to see what's going on. And so I'm trying to be more intentional about just using that time instead for reading other books and books that are going to encourage and strengthen me. So that's what I've been working on.
Yeah, good. So feeding your mind with healthy things. Good.
Yeah, it's really hard during these times because you want to constantly be on that feed to see what's going on with the riots, what's going on with all that's happening. So it's too easy to play into that, but it wears me out actually doing that. So it's better to get a book and read a good book. So yeah.
Yeah, it really does. It's emotionally draining and can really suck life out of you and becomes somewhat of a place of anxiety, worry, distraction, whatever. And yeah. Meg, Deb?
I can really relate with what Donna and Carol have both said, because I think without this strong foundation, with this latest anxiety producing news that's out there, with all the rioting and protests and the horrific murder of George Floyd, I think that this structure has really helped me. I'm still drawn into the emotional part of it and looking at the news, but then being reminded, I need to pause. I need to unplug from that and go to these different areas of strength. What is it that I'm putting into my mind? What is it that I can do to help myself be physically as healthy as I can be, and spiritually, to find that strength in the Lord, and to know that He is not surprised by these events. He's sovereign, and trusting Him in the midst of all this. So this has been very timely, not only for the COVID virus, but just all these other things that can leave you feeling very discouraged and like things are out of control. And of course, we don't have much control over any of these events, but we can control how we're going to respond. How am I going to show up? I like that. I keep hearing that. How am I going to show up in the midst of this? And how can I be an influence to, others, like you were saying, Michael, in my family and my neighborhood and my community? Those things can make a difference. But, just being grounded, it just helps so much to come back to that point instead of just getting caught up into the chaos of the thinking. And we talked about the river, and it seems so easy to go back into the rapids or the eddy, where you're not really going anywhere but just staying stuck in all that negativity. So I'm really grateful. Thank you. This is so good to have this input at this time.
Yeah. I certainly didn't know what was coming with the George Floyd on top of the coronavirus thing. And, just thinking, these are the things. And if we just think about the lives, our life, clearly what it means to us, but then those around us and those who are, that we love and that we can encourage is, how are you doing in these areas, focusing on being purposeful and attending to these, so that as who knows what the next crisis is, only the Lord does. But I think that one scripture, and I'll get your input, Meg, But, you know, the scripture says, thou will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in the, you know, this thing of having a healthy mind emotionally, you know, spiritually. You see this connection, and certainly how our emotions and our spirit influence our physical health, is where's our mind stayed, you know, where's the focus really is. So Meg, last but not least, what are your 2 cents? Can't hear you. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not involved much with the news. We don't have TV, so we just do things on the internet. But and the Canadian version of COVID is very bland compared to the American, and you know, I think a lot of caring about the racial situation. What I do watch is what the prophetic voices are saying, and just the outpouring of prayer through the houses of prayer. And one of them posted the policeman in Florida kneeling and asking forgiveness in relation, you know, I don't know the whole story, but I just happened to see that. So for me, because I'm in a huge transition, and I decided to name what I'm in as a sabbatical, because we're settling into our home, helping my daughter go through divorce and custody issues, helping with my grandchildren. My niece had COVID and she's recovered. My daughter in England is going through some challenges. So I'm so involved with intercession and encouragement and involvement with them. So I've had enough family trauma because my daughter's marriage was so traumatic that it shook me to the boots for the past 4 years. So I have enough personal things to challenge me. So this has really helped me to take care of myself better physically, and to also for my emotional health and spiritual health, I listen a lot, as well as my own quiet time. I listen a lot to Graham Cook, who's a wonderful Christian teacher, and constantly about seeing everything from a heavenly perspective, including ourselves.
Yeah.
I highly recommend him. He's based in California now, though he's a Brit. And he is, but what was interesting to me is that when I caught up before coming on today, the very question that you had asked for last week, which I hadn't looked at till this morning, I'm sorry, was actually what had happened to me last week, because I'd been trying to rush to get back into work, in my case with counseling first. And then I decided that I was pushing myself too much, and that I just had to do what I needed to do in our home and in my life, and take care of myself first before I could show up properly for everybody else. So the same kinds of questions you've been asking have been what have been happening to me, even though I haven't been intentionally asking them because you asked them. It's just an interesting coincidence, but it makes me feel that I'm on track, and that I'm intuitively doing the things that you are suggesting.
Yes, yeah, thank you, and good affirmation. So I'm going to put you back on mute, Meg. All right, so, and thank you everybody for sharing. So next thing I want to talk about, so we're talking about the foundation, and now how do we take the foundation we have and then actually have impact and influence on others around us? This is the idea. And so I wanted to talk about just a couple of things during this particular, this group of meetings. So the first place it begins with is self-awareness. And so I'm actually going to improve, make this a little bigger just because there's no reason to keep it small. Understanding who you are, your wiring, understanding how God made you, your personality, your gifts, your strengths, all the things that make you who you are. Your impact and influence is naturally going to flow through that. How you show up, what's the essence of your life. It should be and needs to be in alignment with what God envisioned when he created you. And so that self-awareness is the place to begin with. And then the second thing is self-awareness then helps to clarify, what's my life mission? What is it that God wants me to be doing in general at a high level? But then when we dig into different roles, how does that show up in the different roles that I have? And then out of self-awareness, it also informs how we live out our life mission. So thinking about self-awareness and what that looks like. So the goal, again, living with impact and influence. So the famous question, who are you? So who exactly are you? Who am I? I thought I'd start with two really simple things. And if you aren't familiar with these for yourself, I would encourage you to follow these links that I put in here. But first one is, what are my top values? And when we think about values, the way that we're defining them here, values are not necessarily morals or things that, like, if you don't have it, that's a bad thing. If you do have it, that's a good thing, kind of thing. The values are really neutral. It's just the way that you're wired. And so using an assessment helps you to sort of figure out some of this. And so I'm sharing this assessment by Cheryl Weir. It's and this is a link. And when I send out the recording, it'll be in there. But this needs and values assessment, if you haven't ever taken one, will help you to think through, okay, what are my top values? And so for me, the top 5, I'm put mine up here: spirituality, teaching, being a catalyst. In other words, wanting to make an impact, make a difference. Contribution and service, so contributing and helping others. The catalyst idea is more of a starting something, getting it moving. Contribution is also then helping to support people and serving and helping. And the last one is leadership. So these are the ways that when I'm living out my mission, they need to be part of what I'm doing. It's just who I am. And the 5 strengths, through the Strengths Finder, I have harmony, relator, learner, analytical, and responsibility. But not just to go into all the details of what these look like. There's 34 different strengths. Again, here's a link to the Strengths Finder assessment if you've not taken it, or if you need to pull yours up. But I would say, when we're thinking about our influence, so we're focusing on our foundation, making sure that we're still doing that, but then out of that strong foundation, we're going to influence and have impact on people. And it needs to come through, how am I wired? How did God create me? So as you think about what you're doing, my encouragement would be, how do my values show up in what I'm doing? Now, not every value needs to show up in everything, but some of your values should. How am I utilizing and leaning on my strengths? How are they showing up in what I'm doing, so that I'm working from a place of strength in what I do? So that's the thought for this week. So the question here are going to be, what are your top 5 strengths or values, your top 5 strengths, and takeaways. So as we just hit the pause button there, so thinking about your values, I know all of you have probably been exposed to this, both values and strengths. What are yours and how do you keep them? What I've done with mine I actually have a bulletin board across the room, which you can't see, but I actually have on there, here's my top 5 values, here's my strengths, you know, the things that are important to remind me how God designed me, so that when I'm trying to make a decision, or if I feel out of alignment in some way, I can go back to those. And I can be reminded, oh yeah, I need to be showing up this way. You know, I need to make sure I'm including these things into what I'm doing. So, so anybody want to take a stab? We won't have time for everyone to share, but just your values, your strengths. Anybody want to chime in?
I found it helpful.
It's Carol.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I'd just say my top 3 are God, family, and then ministry. And sometimes I do the family and ministry. I'm backwards on that. So I don't always walk that out like I want to. I'm kind of in a place right now where I have no choice because some family has moved in since the pandemic. So I have to focus there, and it's really kind of nice to be able to do that. But yeah, those are the 3, and keeping on track, making sure that I'm in prayer, and making sure that even if I'm not able to focus or don't have the mental capacity to get up, dig into the Bible and pray in the morning, to at least spend a few minutes where, you know, I'm thinking about the Word of God, and if it's only a verse for that day, that's all it is. But just trying to make sure that's an important priority, the first thing in my morning and the last thing in the evening.
Okay. Now, have you done a strengths finder or a strengths assessment at all, Carol?
It's been a long time.
Okay. Yeah, so I would encourage all of you,
at
and
this
I'm going
point,
to put this out there, dust it off, get familiar with who God created you to be, because you'll probably be amazed. One of the things I did recently, and you're all familiar with the Enneagram, and I'm a number 5 on the Enneagram and I use the positive side of it. So this thing of being a learner, wanting to teach, all that is all 5. It's just like constant, you know, research, learn, share, help people grow. You know, that's it. My tagline for my business: guidance into intentional, authentic living. Yep, that's it. So it just helps to see this synergy of what you're doing. So there's that, you know, the things fit together, and you can see how that works. Meg, what did you want to share?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I was into Myers-Briggs, and I need to, but I've never done Strength Finder, so I will. And all my family kids, they're always talking about Enneagram, and I haven't had time to do it. But my strengths and values are very similar to yours, except I'm more heavy on the intuitive side. But yeah, no, this is all great, and I embrace going forward with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's again
There
one
was
of those
something else I
things.
was going to say, and I can't remember.
No, I was going to say, I think that it's one of those things where you feel like the fish in water, right? So that's the idea, and that you feel like, oh, you know, this is just so easy. I love doing it. I get energy from it. You know, this is the kind of thing that using your values and strengths and having those as part of whatever you're doing will make a difference. All right, good. Deb, Donna, did any one of you want to chime in? I don't want to.
I just wanted to say that I have not taken the Strengths Finder assessment. I think that would be interesting, and I appreciate being able to get to that. And my values, we just came through that in the Life Essentials or the Essentials for Life coaching class. So,
Mm-hmm.
Spirituality, family, creativity. I love to use words to communicate, either writing, speaking, coaching. So those are some of mine. And it is interesting to see how it all fits together into how God created us to be. So.
Good. Yeah. Well, I'd encourage you, and that's one reason for this, is to build so that you'll continue to have greater, influence and impact on people, and you'll be amazed as you do that. All right. So 10 seconds, we're going to wrap up here. Anybody have a takeaway? What are you getting from this time? Who would like to chime in? Anyone? Takeaways. Don't be shy.
Well, I think just the plan of how to go forward and to make a difference, to have impact and influence. I really like that. I just like the way every week we've kind of built on these different principles. So we've built the foundation, and now this is the next step, and I like that. So
Yeah, good.
And I would say, Michael, that what you said about having your values and strengths visible, that really, because I have done these assessments and I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head. So I need to look it back up and put them where I can see them and be reminded.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we'll end with that. That's excellent. Because I think, as you think about the fact that we might not have taken this, but we're not aware enough to integrate it, we got half the information, we got the knowledge, but without the application, it's not going to be as impactful. So, and that's the goal here, impact and influence. All right, well, good. So good to connect with everyone. Thank you for coming. For those who watch on the recording, look forward to hopefully seeing your smiling face next week and what you're growing in and what you're learning. So I'll be sending this out, and I'm glad to be able to share these things and really help, hopefully, all of you to continue to move forward in a positive and really powerful way. All right, Lord bless.